Now let's turn our attention to West Asia. Israel is preparing to attack Rafah. Over the weekend, the ceasefire talks hit a dead end, so an escalation now seems unavoidable. In fact, the fighting may have already resumed. There were reports of fresh airstrikes today. The situation is precarious and dangerous. More than 1 million Palestinians are in Rafah. This morning, 100,000 of them were asked to evacuate. The orders came from the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF. They said their operation will be limited in scope. For now, they're focusing on just a small area in eastern Rafah. So the message from Netanyahu is quite clear. Despite American objections, he's going ahead with a strike. He's also refused the demands from Hamas. He says he will dismantle the group.
But while Israel has shown willingness, Hamas remains entrenched in its extreme positions. First among them, the demand to remove all our forces from the Gaza Strip, end the war, and leave Hamas in power. The state of Israel cannot accept that.
That should explain why there's no ceasefire. Hamas wanted an end to the fighting. Israel rejected that. They were open to just a temporary pause, a small window where Israel could secure the release of hostages. 130 Israeli hostages are still in Gaza. Their fate now hangs in the balance. Also that of 1 million Palestinians who are in Rafah. If Israel launches a full-blown attack, these people will have nowhere to go. And this is not a hypothetical scenario anymore. Listen to what Israel's defense minister has said.
We identified alarming signs that Hamas actually does not intend to go to any agreement with us. This means we will start military actions in Rafah and the entire Gaza Strip in the very near future.
So Israel could start a full operation soon. Defense Minister Gallant has ruled out any negotiation or ceasefire, at least in the immediate future. And Israel has been warning about this for months now. Netanyahu says Rafah is the last bastion of Hamas. In March, Israel said there are thousands of Hamas fighters in Rafah. The IDF wants to neutralize them, but the United Nations is warning against such an operation.
We are looking at, if this happens, both what the Emergency Relief Coordinator has warned about could be a slaughter of civilians.
A slaughter of civilians, says the United Nations. So far, their appeals have fallen on deaf ears. Israel is determined to carry out the Rafah operation. But it won't be an easy one. Netanyahu faces three big challenges. The first one has to do with the operation itself. To locate these Hamas fighters. Where are they hiding? It's hard to pinpoint the exact location, and that has been the case since the beginning of the war. So Israeli forces are operating in the blind. Netanyahu's second challenge is diplomatic support. His traditional allies are wavering. Western powers no longer back his war in Gaza. The US is working closely with other regional players, trying to revive the peace dialogue. Over the weekend, the CIA director was dispatched to Cairo. His name is William Burns. He's playing the role of an interlocutor. He's been mediating with four key players: Israel, Hamas, Egypt, and Qatar. He's talking to all of them for a ceasefire. And back in Washington, D.C., U.S. President Joe Biden is doing his bit. He hosted the King of Jordan at the White House for an informal meeting. Now, the U.S. and Jordan are longtime allies. They've been discussing the situation in Rafah. Expect them to remain in lockstep in the coming days. A ceasefire may not happen, but the pressure on Netanyahu to end the war will continue. Allies like the US may use military aid as leverage, and that would be Netanyahu's third challenge: securing the supply of arms and ammunition. Does Israel have enough to sustain a long campaign in Rafah? Take a look at this report. Last week, the US was supposed to send a shipment of ammunition to Israel, but Washington put it on hold. And this is unprecedented. The US has never done this before. It has been Israel's biggest military backer. Since the Gaza war began, America has sent a steady supply of military aid to Israel. So why did they stop this shipment? Is there a change in American policy? They haven't said it in so many words, but it is evident that Netanyahu no longer enjoys the same level of support from the US, and this could complicate his advance into Rafah. Meanwhile, the Hamas leadership is still hoping for a truce. 2 of their members will be back in Cairo tomorrow. Egypt has been hosting the talks. Israel has not sent a delegation. They've been communicating indirectly. Earlier today, Biden spoke with Netanyahu on the phone. We don't know what the outcome of that conversation was. As of today, the likelihood of a ceasefire is dim. This war looks set to escalate further before it ends.
Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. South Africa goes to the polls on the 29th of May. I will track the election and bring you ground reports. Is it the end of the road for the African National Congress? And will former President Jacob Zuma stage a dramatic comeback? From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.